Welcome to the course AI Driven Data Insights. The lab we are going to discuss here is document splitting. In this lab, we will learn about text splitting. Often you want to split large text document into smaller chunks to get better with work with language models. Text splitters are responsible for splitting up a document into smaller documents. So let's see the first cell. We are going to install the required packages. The important packages we are using here is OpenAI and LangChain. So if this packages is already installed in your system, no need to run this. If it's not, if you are running it for the first time, you need to install this packages. So the next step is you need to import OpenAI, and then we saw already how to generate API key from the previous lab. So we are importing that and loading the API key. Let me run that. So the next step we do is, in this step, we are importing two packages. One is recursive character text splitter and one more is character text splitter from LangChain text splitter library. So the recursive character text splitter and character text splitter classes are both text splitters in the LangChain library. They are both parameterized by a chunk size and chunk overlap, which determine the maximum size of each chunk and the number of characters that should overlap between consequent chunks. So let me run this. So in the next step, what we are doing is we are assigning the chunk size as 26 and the chunk overlap as 4. So where the chunk size parameter in the character text splitter class determines the maximum number of characters in each chunk when splitting a text into smaller chunk. Here is an explanation of the chunk size parameter based on the provided search result. The default value for chunk size is 1000 tokens. The chunk overlap is used to have a little overlap between two chunks, and this allows for us to have some notion of consistency between two chunks. So there are two types of splitter in LangChain. One is, which is seen below, types of splitter. One is recursive character text splitter and character text splitter. So in this we are assuming the chunk size to be 26 and chunk overlap to be 4. Let me run that. So in the next step, the recursive characters text splitter class splits the text byte recursively trying to split on a set of characters, and the default character is /n/n/n. All these are all and within the double quotes. This means that the splitter will try to split on double new line first and then single new line, then space, then finally empty strings. This has the effect of trying to keep all paragraph together as long as possible. One more thing we have defined over here is character text splitter. So that splits the text by simply splitting on the specified character. This means that it will split the text into chunks of the specified size regardless of whether the chunks contain whole words or sentences. Let me run this. So the next thing is, in this cell, what we are doing is we are creating a string variable named text and assigning it to a string called from A to Z. I am giving the string thus that. In the next step for the text which I have given, what I am trying to do is I am trying to take a R splitter, split text. This is a method which splits the text in text1 into chunks using the recursive character text splitter class, and the size of each chunk is determined by the chunk size parameter, and number of characters that overlap between consequent chunks is determined by the chunk overlap parameter. So in the output we cannot find the split because the size of the string is less than 26. Because of the chunk size, our data stays the same without split. So let's run this, see the output. So this is the output we get. Next, now I'm taking another text called text2. Now we are assigning a string of length more than 26 in a variable here. So let me run that. So in this, when I see, if we use this split text function in the above variable, in the output we can find the split of the variable because there is an overlap between the two splitted strings and the overlap count is 4 as we assigned before. So now in this output you can see the split. So the next thing is we are creating a new variable in which we are assigning the string with spaces. So then we are trying to split the text with the help of R splitter and C splitter function. The C-splitter function takes characters as inputs and does not consider space as separator. So this is how it gets printed for R splitter and C splitter. In the next cell, the C splitter, that is character text splitter, it has an argument saying chunk size, chunk overlap, and and one more thing is separator. This code creates a character text splitter object with a specified chunk size, chunk overlap, and separator. So the separator is a character that the splitter will use to split the text into chunks. In this case, the separator is a space so that the splitter will split the text into chunks of the specified size with each chunk containing one or more words. So the C splittered split text of text3 code then splits the text in text3 using character text splitter object, and the output of this will be list of string where each string is a chunk of the text. So let me run this. So each string will be chunk of the text what is given in the text3. Next thing we are going to try is recursive splitting details. So in this, the recursive character text splitter is recommended for generic text. So we are storing a paragraph in a variable, and then we are trying to use R splitter in this paragraph. So I'm trying to see what is the length of this text, that is 496 it's giving. So this code, in the next cell, this code creates two text splitter. One is character text splitter and one is recursive character text splitter with the following parameter. One is chunk size given as 450, chunk overlap is 0, and for the character text splitter, the separator parameter specify the splitter should split the text on spaces, and all this I've given. And also we have given for the recursive character text splitter, the separators we are taking single line, new line, and without empty space and with space. All this as specifies that the splitter should split the text on double new lines, single new lines, you can see over here, and the spaces and the empty string. All these things are taken into this code. Let me run that. In the next step, with the help of those functions, C splitter and R splitter function, we are splitting the text according to the separators. So let me print that. So next thing we are going to see is how to reduce the chunk size to 150 and overlap as 0. In that step, so I've taken R splitter where I've taken a recursive character text splitter. I'm trying to reduce the chunk size a bit. So let me run this. So this is how we will reduce. Next, here we are modifying the separator as separators we are trying to do. So we are trying to use this. So let me run this code. So in the next cell, we are importing PyPDF loader from LangChain document loader library. Then we are passing the path of our document. I'm passing the path which I have in my PC into PyPDF loader function. After passing the input, with the help of load method, you can load into the variable. Let me run this so that it will be able to load the document from my location. So once that is done, we are importing character text splitter. That this class splits the text by simply splitting on the specified characters. So the code provides it provides a separator, and it has a chunk size of 1000, chunk overlap of 150, and one more is length function, that is length function, len it has. So let's run this function. So in the next step, in this cell, what we are trying to do is we are splitting the text and storing the document in the docs variable. Then with the help of length function, we are checking the length of the document and what is the number of pages for the document. So this is the length of the document, and this is the number of pages in that particular document which I have given the path. So next thing is token splitting. So token splitting, again now we can also split on token count explicitly if we want. This can be useful because LLM often have context window designated in tokens. Tokens are often 4 characters. So again we are trying to import here token text splitter module from LangChain text splitter library. So let me run that. So in the next step, The token text splitter function is stored in a variable called text splitter with a chunk size of 1 and overlap as 0. Let me run that. And now I'm trying to create a string and store it in a variable called text1, and then with the help of that text splitter function, split this string. I'm trying to split the string of the text1 which I've given. So this is how it's able to split. Next is, now we are changing the chunk size of a text splitter function and passing a new string into the function to see a varied output. So we are trying to change the chunk size of this and pass a new variable string into the function so that you get a different output. So now in the next step, what we are doing is we are finding the metadata of the page. So metadata of the page with the help of metadata of the module. So from the document which I uploaded, it's trying to take the source of that and the page of that, which page number it does. So the next concept is content, that is context aware splitting. So chunking aims to keep text with common context together. A text splitting often uses sentences or other delimiters to keep related text together, but many documents that can be explicitly used in splitting. We can use Markdown header text splitter to preserve header metadata in our chunks as shown below. So if you see, in the first thing, what we are trying to do is we are trying to import a markdown header text splitter function from the LangChain. One of the techniques to split the text into small chunks, that is, we are using markdown header text splitter, which can split the text based on file headers. So the user can simply get the file organized by headers and create chunks within the specified headers to split the markdown file. So let me run that. In the next step, I'm trying to store the markdown data into variable, that is markdown document. I'm trying to store into that variable. So once that is stored, next step is you're trying to create a header split. Header 1, header 2, header 3, you're trying to create a header for that. Now once that is done, we are storing the function markdown header text splitter with a header split as we defined the above spell and stored in a markdown splitter variable. Now we'll pass that markdown document into this function and store that in a variable. So let's run this. So once that is done, the next thing we are going to see is now we'll be accessing that splitter document. So I'm trying to do that with a 0th index, accessing it through the index. So I'm trying to do it with, so in the 0th index, it shows hi, this is Jim. So this is the header. So it's trying to split through the header and classify it. So this is what we have learned in this particular lab. How to split the documents, how to token splitting, how it is done, and we have saw like two types of splitter. One is recursive character text splitter, one more is character text splitter. All this we have discussed. Thank you.